Imagine this. You wake up, check the news, and there's talk of an earthquake. But not just any earthquake. One so massive, it's sending ripples literally across the entire Pacific Ocean. We're talking potential tsunamis thousands of miles away. Russia to North America, it definitely grabbed headlines.
It certainly did. A major event.
So today, that's our deep dive. This immense undersea earthquake off Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula happened July 30th, 2025.
Right.
It really shows you the raw power still churning away inside our planet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And our mission today really is to sift through all the reports you've shared, pull out the key pieces of information.
Okay.
We want to help you understand not just, the basic facts of what happened,
Right,
but why it matters, why this specific quake is significant, and what it tells us about our dynamic Earth and how ready we are for these things.
And we've got a good spread of sources. We've looked at the Times of India, the Financial Times, El País over in Spain, Time Magazine, and even some detailed geological breakdowns, like from Study IQ Education. So a lot to unpack.
Definitely.
Okay, let's get right into it then. July 30, 2025. What actually happened? How did we first realize just how big this was?
Well, on that day, the Earth basically gave a huge shudder, an undersea megathrust earthquake right off the Kamchatka Peninsula.
Okay, megathrust.
Yeah. And the first thing to grasp is the size. Initial reports, some agencies, they clocked it at magnitude 8.0.
Which is already huge.
Oh, incredibly powerful. But that wasn't the end of the story. Pretty quickly, those numbers started to get revised upwards.
How far upwards?
Quite a bit, actually. Different agencies settled between 8.6 and even 8.8.
Yeah.
A really significant jump.
Wow. Okay, just pause there. Megathrust. Can you break that down simply for us? What does that mean geologically?
Sure. So a megathrust quake happens at what we call a subduction zone.
Right.
That's where one of the Earth's tectonic plates is basically diving or being forced underneath another one.
Okay, like a slow motion collision.
Exactly. Think of these two colossal slabs of rock grinding past each other over, centuries. Immense pressure builds up along that fault line.
Right.
And when that pressure finally overcomes the friction, the fault ruptures, all that stored energy is released in an instant.
And that causes the quake.
That causes these massive quakes. They are the most powerful type of earthquake we know of.
And the location, it was pinpointed pretty clearly, wasn't it? About 125 kilometers or so off the coast.
Yeah, roughly 125 to 126 kilometers southeast of Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky. But here's what really jumps out from the reports.
What's that?
The depth, or rather the lack of it. It was incredibly shallow.
Shallow? How shallow are we talking?
Just under 20 kilometers down, around 19.3 kilometers technically.
Okay, 19.3 kilometers. Why is that so critical for an undersea quake? Is it just about tsunamis?
Well, tsunamis are the big one, absolutely. When a quake happens that close to the seabed, more of its energy goes directly upwards into the water column. It has less rock to travel through, so less energy dissipates.
So it pushes the water up more effectively.
Exactly. It causes a much larger displacement of that huge volume of water sitting right above the rupture. And that's what kicks off potentially large tsunamis.
Makes sense.
And, if it were on land, that shallow depth would also mean much, much more intense shaking at the surface.
Right. Okay. So massive quake, shallow depth.
And what's fascinating here, beyond just the mechanics, is the history, or rather its place in history.
How so?
When you look at the global seismic record, this earthquake now ranks among the top 6, possibly even top 5, largest earthquakes ever recorded worldwide.
Top 6 ever.
Ever recorded. And specifically for that Kamchatka region, it's the strongest one they've had since way back in 1952.
Wow. Okay, that puts it in perspective. Top 6 globally.
Yeah, it really forces us to think about the sheer scale of these planetary forces.
Absolutely. So with that kind of power, especially undersea and shallow, the next big fear is always the tsunami. Always.
Instantly, yeah.
What happened there? Did those fears play out across the Pacific?
Well, the warnings went out almost immediately. And they were widespread. We're talking the entire Pacific Basin.
The whole thing.
Pretty much. Obviously, Russia itself, Kamchatka, the Kuril Islands, but also Japan, Alaska, Hawaii, the U.S. West Coast.
California, Oregon, Washington.
Yep. And numerous Pacific Island nations, too. The potential for a really destructive wave traveling vast distances was very real. Those warning systems kicked into high gear.
Okay, so warnings everywhere. What about actual waves? How big did they get and where did they hit hardest? There was some variation, right?
Yes, definitely variation. And that tells us a lot about how tsunamis behave.
Okay.
Predictably, the biggest waves hit closest to home. Up to 3 or 4 meters were reported hitting parts of the Kamchatka coast.
3 to 4 meters, that's significant.
Oh, yes. Destructive potential there. But then farther away, like in Japan, with places like Hokkaido, Iwate, they recorded much smaller waves.
How small?
More in the range of 30 to 40 centimeters.
Yeah.
So noticeable, but not destructive.
Okay, quite a difference.
And then across the vast Pacific, Hawaii saw waves measure between 1 and 1.3 meters.
Still decent size, over a meter.
Decent, yes.
Yeah.
Enough to cause some coastal flooding or strong currents, but again, thankfully not the catastrophic waves that could have been generated.
So what does that variation show us?
It shows how the energy spreads out, how it refracts and reflects off undersea features, how the shape of the coastline focuses or disperses the wave. It's complex.
Right. Local geography plays a huge part.
A massive part. So while it was serious near the source, it wasn't the basin-wide disaster it could have been for those distant shores.
Given those widespread warnings, though, what about precautions? Evacuations?
They were swift and extensive. We saw evacuations at places like Severokurilsk in the Turtle Islands. That's about 2,700 people.
Okay.
And Japan. Japan really stands out. Authorities there issued evacuation orders for huge stretches of coastline.
Including sensitive areas?
Yes, including areas around a Fukushima nuclear plant, purely as a precaution. Also parts of Hawaii, the U.S. West Coast saw advisories, some local evacuations.
And the numbers in Japan are quite staggering, weren't they?
They really were. The sources mentioned nearly 1.9 million people evacuated from coastal areas in Japan.
1.9 million, just as a precaution.
As a precaution. It's an incredible number.
Okay, let's shift then to the actual impact on the ground. Given the quake's magnitude, the warnings, the evacuations, what was the final tally on damage? And crucially, casualties?
This is really the remarkable part, given the sheer size of this event.
Yeah.
As of the latest reports we've seen, there have been no confirmed fatalities.
Seriously, after an 8.6 to 8.8?
It's truly fortunate. Now, there was some damage. It wasn't zero impact.
Okay, what kind of damage?
Reports mention a kindergarten building damaged in Severokurilsk, some disruption to local infrastructure there, and limited injuries were reported in Kamchatka.
But limited injuries, not widespread devastation.
Exactly. Nothing on the scale you might fear from such a powerful quake, especially compared to historical events. It seems relatively localized.
Which brings us to maybe the most interesting point here. That huge number in Japan, 1.9 million people evacuated.
Right.
For waves that ultimately measured only 30, 40 centimeters there. What does that tell us? Is that an overreaction? Or is it a sign of something else?
Oh, I wouldn't call it an overreaction at all, not in the slightest.
No.
No. What it tells us, profoundly, is how effective sophisticated early warning systems and, just as importantly, a well-prepared public response can be.
So it's about the system working.
Exactly. Japan especially has poured decades of effort and, frankly, huge resources into top-tier seismic monitoring tsunami warning tech.
Right.
And combining that with relentless public education. Evacuation drills are routine there.
They know what to do.
They know what to do. So even though the waves ended up being small there, the decision to evacuate millions shows a very clear, better safe than sorry policy.
Life safety first.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially given their history with devastating tsunamis. It's a testament to how far things have come. They don't just detect the quake, they rapidly assess the threat and can implement these massive protective actions.
It shows a really mature disaster response culture.
That's a perfect way to put it. Highly mature.
That level of preparedness is obviously crucial. Now, let's dig into the why. A quake this big, this shallow. There has to be some serious geology behind it.
Oh, absolutely.
Can you walk us through the geological setting? What makes this Kamchatka region such a hotspot?
Right. So the quake happened along the Kamchatka subduction zone.
Okay.
And this zone is a really significant part of the Pacific Ring of Fire.
Ah, the Ring of Fire. We hear that term a lot.
We do. And for good reason. It's not, a literal ring.
Right. It's more horseshoe-shaped.
Exactly. A vast zone around the Pacific Ocean rim where most of the world's earthquakes and volcanic eruptions happen.
Why there?
It's basically where several major tectonic plates meet and interact. They're constantly grinding, colliding, and one plate sliding under another. That's the subduction part.
Got it.
And the Kamchatka Trench is one of these places where the Pacific plate is diving down beneath another plate. This constant motion builds up incredible stress.
Which eventually releases as these megathrust quakes.
Precisely. It's one of the most seismically active boundaries on the planet.
And it seems this massive quake on July 30th wasn't entirely out of the blue. The sources mentions some prior activity.
That's a really important point, yes. This wasn't just a sudden jolt from nowhere.
What happened before?
The data shows this same region had already experienced what geologists call a seismic swarm earlier in July 2025.
A swarm, meaning multiple quakes.
Yeah, a cluster of quakes. Notably, there was a magnitude 7.4 on July 20th.
Still a major quake.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And then just 2 days later, July 22nd, there was a 6.8 tremor.
Okay.
And interestingly, tsunami alerts were actually issued for those earlier events too, though they were later canceled.
So the ground was already rumbling, so to speak.
It suggests the whole system was under increased stress, potentially building up towards the main, much larger release on the 30th. It's a reminder these things are processes, not always isolated bangs.
And looking forward, what about aftershocks? Is the danger over?
Definitely not over immediately. This is crucial. Experts are very clear. Quakes this large always produce aftershocks.
And they can be strong.
They can be significant. We're not just talking minor rattles. The warnings mention potential for aftershocks up to magnitude 7.5 in the coming weeks.
7.5? That's bigger than the force shocks.
Potentially, yes. The Earth doesn't just settle down instantly after such a massive rupture. It needs time to readjust, and that involves more shaking. So continued vigilance is absolutely key for people in that region.
Good point. Now, putting this into historical context is always useful. Has this region seen anything like this 8.6, 8.8 monster before? Is there a precedent?
There is. And unfortunately, it's a tragic one.
Oh.
The last time a megathrust earthquake of truly comparable scale hit this specific area was back in 1952, the Severokurilsk earthquake.
1952? What happened then?
That quake was estimated around magnitude 9.0, just colossal, one of the biggest ever recorded anywhere.
9.0.
And crucially, it generated an absolutely devastating tsunami. Reports say waves reached up to 18 meters high.
18 meters? That's almost 60 feet.
Unimaginable height. It completely obliterated coastal towns, particularly Severokurilsk.
And casualties.
Tragically, over 2,300 people were killed. It's a really stark reminder of what this specific geological setting is capable of, especially back when warning systems and coastal preparedness were far, far less developed than today.
Wow. Okay, so connecting that past horror to the present day. What's the big takeaway message here?
I think the message is twofold. First, the 2025 event, while thankfully much less deadly,
Right, no fatalities reported.
is now officially cemented as one of the strongest earthquakes in recorded history. And it holds that unsettling title of being the largest in this specific, dangerous region since that awful 1952 quake.
So a powerful echo of the past.
A very powerful echo. It reminds us of the planet's immense power. But the second part of the message, and this is crucial, is the contrast. It highlights the incredible progress we've made in our ability to detect these events, issue warnings rapidly, and have populations prepared to respond. That difference between 1952 and 2025, in terms of human outcome, is profound.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. We've covered a lot in this deep dive.
We have indeed.
We saw this truly massive undersea quake off Kamchatka, revised up to magnitude 8.6, maybe 8.8. Huge.
Historically huge.
Followed by swift, Pacific-wide tsunami warnings. We saw massive precautionary evacuations, especially in Japan, involving millions.
Remarkable scale of precaution.
And yet, thankfully, the outcome was minimal reported damage, some local disruption, but critically, no confirmed fatalities.
A huge relief, considering the potential.
We also dug into the geology that Kuril-Kamchatka subduction zone, part of the Ring of Fire, the prior seismic swarm.
And the ongoing risk of aftershocks.
And we placed it in history, comparing it to that devastating 1952 event.
Right. And that's really why digging into these events matters so much. It's not just abstract knowledge.
How do you mean?
Well, understanding these forces, understanding how our warning systems work, how preparedness makes a difference. That's knowledge you can apply. These deep dives help us appreciate the planet's power, yes, but also the critical importance of science, technology, and, frankly, good planning in keeping people safe.
It's about learning lessons.
Learning from the past, applying it now.
Exactly.
So here's a final thought to leave everyone with. Thinking about that stark contrast. 1952 in Kamchatka, thousands dead from the tsunami. 2025, same region, similar magnitude quake, no reported deaths from the tsunami.
Yeah, the contrast is striking.
What do you, listening right now, think has fundamentally changed the most? Is it purely the technology, the sensors, the satellites, the computer models, Or is it something deeper, maybe about global communication, public awareness, maybe even political will to invest in safety?
A great question. Technology versus human systems and awareness.
Definitely something to mull over. What's made the biggest difference in facing down the power of our planet? Think about it. Until our next deep dive.